This past week, multiple reports shared news regarding Konami partnering with developers to release games tied to some of the publisher's largest brands. Titles including new games in the Silent Hill and Castlevania franchises were reported to be in development, but the most substantial reveal was the existence of a Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remake that is believed to be made by developer Virtuos Games. Now, a recently discovered job listing could provide further evidence of the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake's existence. The report shared a LinkedIn profile for Virtuos lead software engineer Ji Yang Lee on Sunday, which featured what could be important information. Lee's most recent job experience listed is for what he describes as an unannounced 3A action-adventure game remake, in which he led a team of 12 developers working on the project's game engine. While a game title is never mentioned, Metal Gear Solid 3 fits the description of a AAA action-adventure game remake. Also notable in Lee's profile is that his work on this unannounced AAA game began in October 2018 and not recently. This is actually somewhat contradictory to previous reports, which insisted that the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake is currently in early development. It's still possible for a game to be in development for 3 years and still be considered early, but it could mean that it's a different project or that there's more to Metal Gear Solid 3's development than is apparent. Ultimately, the original report for Metal Gear Solid 3's remake is unconfirmed, and Lee's connection to that rumor is just another layer of rumor itself. Virtuos Games is actually a support and outsourcing studio who worked on major PlayStation and other third-party games, and it could be possible that they are working with a major developer who really makes the game. Metal Gear Solid fans should probably take these leaks with a grain of salt. The key issue behind all Konami-related rumors is that Konami's been distanced from game development for not just Metal Gear Solid, but most of its franchises for years. While it's absolutely possible that Konami is trying to resurrect these franchises, it's also possible that it changes its mind or shifts directions. Without an official announcement from Konami, it's best to maintain a healthy amount of skepticism regarding Metal Gear Solid 3's remake and all adjacent Konami rumors. If a remake is to be made, then considering Hideo Kojima is a crucial one. Moving forward, a recently uncovered pitch presentation for Uncharted Golden Abyss reveals what developer Bend Studio originally intended for the PS Vita prequel. Mobile prequel Uncharted Golden Abyss launched for the PS Vita in December 2011, though it didn't come to Europe and America until February 2012. It received very positive reviews at the time, though Naughty Dog never followed through on bringing it to the PS4. But as it turns out, the game that players got to experience is not everything the designers intended to put out. The report recently shared a lost concept presentation recovered from the Internet Archive. The presentation revealed some exciting details about Bend Studio's Uncharted Golden Abyss. It includes multiple unimplemented features that never made it into the final product. The pitch brought up Bend Studio's desire to enhance rather than replace Uncharted's traditional gameplay. This was largely the case with the release version, which utilized the Vita's touch screen and motion controls. However, Bend Studio also had ideas to use the Vita's built-in camera and light sensor to incorporate augmented reality features into Uncharted Golden Abyss. The first would have allowed players to reveal hidden symbols by shining real-world lights on the screen. The second concept would have adjusted the game's gamma setting based on the light levels in the Vita's surroundings. However, if implemented well, it could have been a nice quality-of-life feature. The former suggestion also sounds like it could have been an engaging augmented reality minigame. Bend Studio also seems to have toyed with the idea of introducing a multiplayer component to the game. However, the term multiplayer is only mentioned briefly in a longer statement about risk assessment and franchise expectations. The multiplayer component may refer to a proposed social interaction game. Players would compete to collect the most in-game artifacts to become the world's most successful treasure hunter. It's also possible Bend Studio intended to have both treasure hunting and a more traditional PvP or co-op multiplayer. As mentioned above, the presentation also included a section dedicated to risk assessment. For example, Bend Studio estimated it would need about $13.5 million to develop and market Uncharted Golden Abyss. Based on that number, the studio projected it would need to sell 647,000 copies to break even. That may have been an overambitious target, as Golden Abyss only sold around 500,000 copies, and was still one of the most successful games on the PS Vita. However, it's possible the final product cost significantly less to develop. On the other hand, it would certainly be a disappointment to the studio if it made one of the platform's best games but still lost money. Either way, the recent leak offers an intriguing peek behind the curtains of the game's development. PS Vita was certainly ahead of its time. For months, rumors have been swirling that Rockstar Games was planning on remastering the PS2-era Grand Theft Auto games for modern consoles as a way to celebrate 20 years of Grand Theft Auto 3. Rockstar has now finally confirmed that the rumors are true, as Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy the Definitive Edition is confirmed to be releasing for most modern gaming platforms at some point later this year. Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy Definitive Edition will include graphical upgrades and gameplay improvements, though specifics on exactly what those enhancements will entail have yet to be revealed. The latest leaks have suggested that the Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy Definitive Edition release date is in November, and while Rockstar didn't provide an exact date itself, if true, it means that more information will likely come to light sooner rather than later. The package will include enhanced versions of GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. All three games have earned widespread critical acclaim and are hailed as some of the most influential video games ever made. Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy Definitive Edition will launch at some point later this year for PC, PS4, PS5, Switch, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X, with a mobile version coming in 2022. Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy the Definitive Edition should help tide GTA fans over while they wait for the Grand Theft Auto 5 next-gen debut, currently slated for March 2022. Originally, the plan was for Grand Theft Auto 5 on PS5 and Xbox Series X to drop in November, but it was pushed back for unknown reasons. The enhanced GTA 5 version doesn't look promising, and it is a cash grab, but the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition should not be in that level of enhancement for good. Of course, the other Grand Theft Auto project that fans are anxious to learn more about is Grand Theft Auto 6. Grand Theft Auto 6's development is a virtual guarantee considering the sheer amount of money that Grand Theft Auto 5 has made, but Rockstar Games has not offered any official updates on the long-awaited GTA 6. For now, fans will have to make do with GTA the Trilogy the Definitive Edition, and the upcoming GTA 5 next-gen release. While Rockstar Games itself has yet to properly reveal the GTA the Trilogy the Definitive Edition release date, a reputable leaker may have let the cat out of the bag. Leaker Tom Henderson, who has accurately leaked Grand Theft Auto news in the past, wrote a piece for Gaming Intel where he claimed to leak the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy release date. According to Henderson's sources, the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy release date is pegged for Thursday, November 11, 2021, with an announcement coming on Grand Theft Auto 3's 20th anniversary. For the uninitiated, that would be Friday, October 22nd. Rockstar Games is looking to make Grand Theft Auto 3's 20th anniversary special through the release of GTA, the Trilogy the Definitive Edition, and special GTA 3 cosmetics in Grand Theft Auto Online. It makes sense that it would use the actual date of Grand Theft Auto 3's 20th anniversary for something special, and the release date announcement for Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy the Definitive Edition would certainly fit the bill. While not explicitly mentioned in Henderson's report, it would make sense that the release date announcement would be accompanied by a trailer. Rockstar Games has revealed very little about what fans can expect from GTA the Trilogy the Definitive Edition beyond that it will have some vague enhancements. It would be great to see it in action so we can see what enhancements are there, and know exactly what to expect when the release date finally rolls around, whether that's on November 11th as predicted or on some other date. There is also another release date rumored, as Polish game publication PPE has reported that GTA the Trilogy the Definitive Edition will be releasing on December 7, 2021. According to its sources, the game will be released physically for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch on this date, with a PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S edition coming in 2022. PPE acknowledges the varying release dates that are currently circulating, including GTA the Trilogy's November digital release from Tom Henderson, but generally indicates that the digital and physical releases may be different. If nothing changes, then in the first half of December GTA The Trilogy The Definitive Edition will be available in a physical edition, the translated article concludes. PPE's article makes some distinct changes from the GTA The Trilogy's official announcement, most notably the release formats. For instance, Rockstar Games made no delineation between the PS4, Switch, and Xbox One versions of the game, and the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S versions in the original unveiling. While not mentioning the 2022 mobile version specifically, PPE seemingly groups the next-gen versions of the game with it, as they may not be available when the game first drops. It is pretty strange for GTA The Trilogy to not have a release date when its rumored release window is nearly here. Here though, GTA The Trilogy was said to be coming soon in addition to release sometime this year, so at some point in the next 2 months, the game should be released. Now with both November and December suggestions, it has become even harder to make any sort of good prediction. Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy The Definitive Edition was one of the worst-kept secrets in gaming, with numerous leaks revealing the collection well before Rockstar Games made the official announcement. But even though Rockstar Games has finally announced Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy The Definitive Edition, there's still a lot that fans don't know any details about it. This includes how much the trilogy will cost, and if a recent leak is to be believed, it could be pretty expensive. RetailerBase.com is accepting pre-orders for Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy The Definitive Edition, and the prices listed suggest that the game will retail for full price. What this means is that it's possible that Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One versions of Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy The Definitive Edition will cost $60, whereas the next-generation versions on PS5 and Xbox Series X will cost $70. This has not been confirmed by Rockstar Games, and it's entirely possible that these are simply placeholder prices, and so we should keep that in mind. It's just as possible that the games won't look much different than the HD versions released for PS4 a few years back, and so fans should brace themselves for that reality. Ultimately, until Rockstar Games itself decides to show Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy The Definitive Edition in action, all fans can do is speculate. Despite announcing Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy The Definitive Edition and confirming that it's releasing by the end of the year, Rockstar has yet to release a proper trailer for the game. Grand Theft Auto 3 is the oldest title in the remastered trilogy, and there are quite a few ways that it could be enhanced to bring it closer to modern standards. For example, improving some gameplay mechanics would do well for the remasters. This should include adding swimming and, most importantly, revamping the game's lock-on system for shooting. Shooting in the original Grand Theft Auto 3 can be clunky and results in players just wildly spraying in the general direction of enemies until they secure a hit. Another way that it could be improved would be to add some of the customization features that the series has come to be known for. Grand Theft Auto 3's cosmetic items are coming to Grand Theft Auto Online, and it would make sense if players were able to do more customization in the remaster as well. This could include customizing the player character as well as cars. The remaster would also do well to expand the game's radio stations and tracks. One can assume it'll include the music featured in the originals, but expanding on the offered songs with period-accurate songs would be a fantastic way to breathe some new life into them. GTA Vice City is the most iconic game in the classic franchise, thanks to its fantastic setting akin to 1980s Miami, engaging story, and vibrant world. Despite the game's status as a classic in the industry, there are still a few ways that Vice City could be improved. As for mechanical improvements, it would be a worthy addition for players to be able to swim in GTA Vice City, but it also would be great for the game's save system to be overhauled so that players did not have to go to save points when they were done playing. It would also be very interesting for the game to incorporate a system similar to Grand Theft Auto 5 that has players see what their character was up to when they first load into the game. It would also be great to see Vice City expanded in regards to the side activities and minigames offered to players. There already are quite a few hidden things players can do in GTA Vice City, but the vibrant Vice City is a perfect setting for plenty more. These could include a wide variety of activities like playing sports minigames, boat races, going surfing, or even going on dates and enjoying the nightlife like in Grand Theft Auto 4. And they need to do Tommy Vercetti good, he is my favorite in GTA. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was a big leap forward for the series, and is the longest title in Grand Theft Auto: The Trilogy Definitive Edition. This means that any improvements to the game in the remaster will likely require a bit more work from the developers, but it could also be the one that players spend the most time with. The original title did add a lot of customization features at the time, but it would be great to see those options expanded on in the remaster. These could include more hairstyles, clothes, and even a way for players to customize their house to show off in-game achievements or progress. Though unlikely, seeing some content originally cut from San Andreas make a return in the remaster would be interesting. While this probably shouldn't include the infamous hot coffee minigame, it could add a lot of cool features like sharks, skateboards, a player-owned casino, and even the ability to become a drug dealer to make extra cash. Some of the additions may be pretty small in the greater scope of the game, but all of them combined could add a lot to the game and be a cool treat for fans of the game who would like to see the new content in one of their favorite games. It will be very interesting to see what Grand Theft Auto: The Trilogy Definitive Edition looks like when it releases later this year. There are many different ways that Rockstar can improve the classic games, and, hopefully, the developers will explore trying out some ways that fans may not be expecting. Fans of the series have also called for other Grand Theft Auto titles to receive remasters, so hopefully, this first trilogy will perform well enough to see other titles be remastered in the future. So, hopefully the definitive edition is not just a mere cash grab, but a significant one, where it comes close to a remake. Although there's plenty to be excited about with the remastered titles, Rockstar has officially said that it's going to be removing the 3 titles it's remastering from all digital marketplaces sometime this week. That means that soon, the only way to play the 3 games digitally will be through Grand Theft Auto: The Trilogy: The Definitive Edition. This is potentially troubling, not just because the studio would be forcing people looking to play its older titles to pay the reported $60 to $70 that it's charging for the remasters, but because it could potentially set a precedent for studios working on remastered editions of their older titles moving forward. The studio likely changed a handful of things about all 3 titles to make them fit more within the modern gaming landscape that they'll be re-released in. This means that certain quality of life fixes might have been made, visuals will be updated, and the games will, hopefully, play much smoother overall. These are the types of changes that fans are looking for in a remaster, essentially giving an older game a fresh coat of paint to make it hold up better when looking at it through a modern gaming lens. While those changes are for the better of the games, it's still important to preserve the original releases. As with all types of media history, it's important to remember where a medium started to be able to appreciate where it is now, and if Rockstar makes its older titles permanently unavailable in favor of the game's remasters, then the history of one of gaming's most iconic franchises might disappear almost entirely. While there are still physical copies of all 3 GTA games floating around, it's much easier to simply purchase the games digitally and appreciate them there. The work preserving the early games in the GTA series is already done, but Rockstar is taking that away for seemingly no reason other than to promote the sales of the remastered trilogy. That said, there's always a chance with remastered games that the new edition of the game could be worse than the originals. It takes one look at Silent Hill HD Collection to see that remastered versions of games aren't always better. If a situation like what happened with the Silent Hill series were to happen with Grand Theft Auto, where the remastered versions of older titles are worse received than the originals, then players might be stuck having to choose between playing ruined versions of beloved classics and not playing them at all. Unlike what happened with Silent Hill, however, the older GTA games are already widely available, but Rockstar is purposefully restricting access to them to promote the remasters. It makes sense from a business perspective why the studio would do this, but it potentially sets a worrisome precedent moving forward. Plenty of studios admire Rockstar, and if it's taking its games off of digital storefronts in favor of solely promoting remastered versions, other studios might follow suit, and the digital preservation of video games might take a major hit. When it comes to GTA and other franchises, Rockstar has been pretty rusted, and not releasing games consistently, when we consider how big they are. I hope that the money they make through GTA 5, GTA Online and Red Dead Online doesn't get into their head, and they should not damage their own reputation. Speaking of Rockstar, over the years, Rockstar Games has released quality titles such as Max Payne and Red Dead Redemption. News about the company's next big project, Agent, has kept many fans excited for what's to come. However, Agent development confusion has plagued fans for years, unsure if the game was still happening. The game was first announced back in 2007 at the E3 conference that year for the PlayStation 3. It was meant to be the start of a great franchise after the console's launch, eventually becoming a console exclusive in 2009. Many of the company's key figures were excited about the game and the unique experience it would offer. Sam Houser, one of the founders of Rockstar, even stated that the company had been wanting to make the game for a while. Sadly, the game never entirely took off for some unclear reason as the company was preoccupied with its other titles. Many were hoping that there would still be a chance in the future, but it looks like that officially won't be the case anymore. Today, it seems that Agent has been officially removed from its game list on the company's website. For years the studio promised the public that Agent was in active development, but never had anything to show for it. Despite an art leak in 2011, the game was never brought up again until the PS4 reveal back in 2013. There are many theories as to why Agent was never made. Rockstar North, the studio responsible for Agent, switched over to developing Grand Theft Auto V when the PS3 came out and would quickly jump to GTA Online right after. Previous members of the game's art team leaked that they were told to switch over to GTA development without any clarification when work on Agent would start back up. The final nail in the coffin came when Rockstar decided not to renew the patent trademark for Agent back in 2018. Many fans took to comments to mourn the loss of a potential hit game, now officially calling it an urban legend. Some even gave their theories as to why the game was never released. Some think it was because the company was having problems making it on the PS3 hardware and gave up. Others think it's because the company couldn't figure out how to implement microtransactions. Whatever the case might be, hopefully, fans of Agent are able to find a worthy replacement to fill the void sometime soon. And overall, as I have stated before, making money is one thing. But if you focus only on that and not have any passion for the games, then it is a disrespect to me and gaming general. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then from SMPV, it's goodbye.